Hello. Now we are going to cover the topic SAP HANA Server installation. In this session, I'll be telling you about the basic concepts of SAP HANA Server, and we'll be talking about the different setups, that is single host system and multiple host systems. And later on, we'll be talking about the various installation steps involved in installing SAP HANA Server using graphical user interface. So, before we delve deeper into the concepts and the installation steps, it's worth noting that the SAP HANA component installation concept has changed significantly with the fast paced development of SAP HANA itself. In the early releases, the SAP HANA components had to be installed individually, which was a very time consuming task. So, more recently, the SAP HANA Unified Installer was developed to streamline the installation process by installing all the required components from just one call to the installer. So, as of SPS 08, the Unified Installer is no longer shipped with SAP HANA. With SPS 07, the SAP HANA HDB LCM tool, that is hybrid database for HDB, and for LCM it's lifecycle management. So HDB LCM tool was introduced to offer the efficiency of installing all the components at one time. So it provides further flexibility to customize and automate the installation. So now the components can be installed, upgraded or uninstalled from just one tool, that is HDB LCM, or it can be a command line, or it can be the graphical user interface. So the SAP HANA system is basically composed of three main components. First is the host, then the system, and the instance. So in everyday language, these terms may have different meanings. So it's important to clearly understand what these terms mean when it comes to an SAP HANA installation. See, a host is the operating environment in which SAP HANA database runs. The host provides all the resources and services like CPU, memory, network, operating system. It provides all these resources and services that the SAP HANA database requires. So host is responsible for that. So it provides the links to the installation directory, data directory, and log directory, or the storage itself. So the storage for an installation does not have to be on the host, but for multiple host system, a shared storage or a storage that is accessible on demand from all the hosts is required. In case of instance, it's I would just like to tell you that an SAP HANA instance is the set of SAP HANA system components that are installed on one host. Okay, so a system can be distributed as several instances among several hosts, but each instance in a multiple host system must have the same instance number. So that's the case of multiple host system, that's the case of distributed systems. So you have to remember this, that in case of multiple host system, they all the systems will have the same instance number. And a system in SAP HANA terminology is one or more instances with the same number. So the term system is interchangeable with the term SAP HANA database. Okay, so whenever we call SAP HANA system, that's the HANA database. If a system has more than one instance, then they must be dispersed over several hosts as a multiple host systems. Next, then we have different HANA system types. First is single host system, and second is multiple host system. So a SAP HANA system can be configured in any of these two ways. In case of single host system, one SAP HANA instance on one host. So it's just that a single host system is the simplest system installation type, and it's possible to run on SAP HANA system entirely on one host, and then you can scale it up the system as you need that. So both the HDB LCM and HDB LCM GUI, these are the SAP HANA Lifecycle Management tools. These two tools can be used to install an SAP HANA single host system in one or more installer modes and with a combination of parameter specification methods. So you can see over here that these are the two tools we have. First is the HDB LCM, that is Hybrid Database Lifecycle Management. This is the command line interface, right? So you'll have to put all the commands and then the installation will take place. It will take you through all the steps. And the second is HDB LCM GUI, that is the graphical user interface. So these are the two tools which you can use to install SAP HANA system. So in case of single host database systems, we have these options for installation mode, parameter specification methods and configuration file. So the installation mode is basically wherein you can decide that it has to be the interactive mode or it has to be the batch mode. See, in case of interactive mode, the person installing the system must enter parameter specifications iteratively until the installation process finishes. So it has to be interactive, wherein you will be putting in the information as asked by the system, and by default that's the mode which is chosen, that is the interactive mode. Then and it is available in both the cases, that is HDB LCM as well as HDB LCM GUI. Okay, so it is interactive through command line also and through graphical user interface also. Next mode is the batch mode. This mode is only available for HDB LCM, that is through command line only. The installation accepts the default values for all the unspecified parameters and it runs to completion without any additional input required. So batch mode must be explicitly specified when the HDB LCM installation tool is called. So here no interactive functions are there. You cannot put input the data, you cannot do the settings interactively. It's the batch mode. So you have to choose between these two. The first interactive method is available in both the tools, but batch mode is available only in command line. Next is our parameter specification methods. So installation parameter values can be entered in one or more of these following ways. This is again the same thing. One is interactively, that is by default, and the other is command line options. Using either the command line interaction or the graphical interaction, most parameters are requested interactively, right? So parameters that are not requested, they just accept the default values. So installation parameters are given in their accepted syntax as a space delimited list after the program name. So whatever parameter is there, you have to put it after the name of the program, that is HDB LCM followed by that parameter. So the specified parameters replace the defaults. If any mandatory parameters are left out, then they are requested interactively unless the batch mode is specified. If the batch mode is specified, then it will not be requested, right? So all the parameters can be entered from the command line. Then the third thing we have is the configuration file. So what is a configuration file? This is just a plain text file of parameters set to their default values, which can be generated, it can be edited and saved so that we can call it during installation, and it can be called either using HDB LCM or HDB LCM GUI tool. So that means from command line as well as the graphical user interface, you can call the this configuration file. So if any mandatory parameters are left out, then they are requested interactively. And of course, this is always true that in batch mode, this is there's no interaction. So otherwise, if the mode is interactive, then only all the parameters are requested interactively. So all these parameters can be entered in the configuration file. So the specified parameters replace the defaults, but if you specify the same parameter as a command line option and in the configuration file, then the command line version is used by the installer. So this was all about the different installation steps and modes and parameter specification methods for single host database system. And I'll be showing you in this session we'll be doing the single host database installation only, and I'll be digging deeper into these steps one by one, and that all what are all these parameters which are required to be entered during the installation. We'll be going through that. So before we do that, let me just tell you about multiple host system. So this is also called a distributed system. If there are multiple hosts in a system, it is called a multiple host system or a distributed system. So you can see over here that the file system for a multiple host system, it's with 3 hosts, right? We have these 3 hosts, HANA 1, 2 and 3. So a multiple host system is a system with more than one host, which can be configured as active worker hosts or idle standby hosts. Both the HDB-LCM and HDB-LCM GUI, and these are the SAP HANA Lifecycle Management tools, these both can be used to install an SAP HANA multiple host system in one of the many installer modes which we had just talked about, and with a combination of parameter specification methods. So to add hosts to an existing system, we have to use the SAP HANA Lifecycle Manager tool. And in this case again, we have these installation modes and parameter specification methods. And the last is again the configuration file, which is again a plain text file, and all the parameters can be entered in the configuration file, and it replaces the default values. Whatever value you have specified for these parameters in the configuration file, it just replaces the default values. So this is all together similar things are there, that installation modes and parameter specification methods and configuration file, all these things are same for single host and multiple host database system. It's just that we need to add additional parameter values in case of multiple host system. So next is installing an SAP HANA system. So before I tell you about the steps involved in installing SAP HANA Server, we'll just quickly go through the installation parameters. So these installation parameters are a fundamental aspect of SAP LCM tools, that is HDB LCM and HDB LCM GUI, and it provides the opportunity to optimize and customize the system during installation. So first is mandatory installation values. So the only mandatory parameters without a default value is the SAP system ID, that is SID, which must be specified. That's the mandatory one. However, it's also recommended to define an instance number, since these two parameters are meaningful to the identity of the system. These have to be specified, that is the SAP system ID, that is SID, and the instance number. So then we have the changeable default values. The installer uses these default values unless you change them during the installation. So some default values are based on the predefined values on the current host, and in case of multiple host system, it's recommended to manually check the mandatory values on each host before the installation. So these are the installation parameters. These are the changeable default values. First is action, that's the parameter. It specifies the action. I'll just quickly just give you the overview about these parameters. The action, basically it specifies the action of HDB LCM to be either installation or update. So if it's the new system installation, then you have to choose installation, or if the system is already installed and you just need to update, then you specify update. Then is the auto start. So it restarts instance after machine reboot, right? It's used at that time. Then is a certificates host map. It specifies the host name used for generation of self-signed SSL certificates for the SAP host agent, and this certificate is used by SAP HANA Lifecycle Manager, that is HLM. Then is the client path. It specifies the installation path for the client where it will be installed. Then are the components. It specifies the components to be installed in combination with the server. These components are Studio, Client, HLM, then AFL, LCA apps. So it's also possible to specify all the components, or just to specify a combination of components. So it's up to you. Then we have a copy repository. It specifies the target path to which the SAP HANA Studio repository should be copied. In case of data path, it specifies the path to the data directory of the SAP HANA system. Then we have group ID. It specifies the SAP system group ID. This parameter is relevant only if SAP sys group does not already exist on the host. If SAP sys group already exists, then passing the group ID parameter does not alter the existing group. So by default, that's SAP sys. Then we have home. It specifies the home directory of the SAP system administrator. This parameter is relevant only if the operating system administrator, that is SID ADM, does not exist prior to installation. Then you need to specify this. Then we have host name. It specifies the host name of the machine. Then we have install host agent. It enables the installation or update of the SAP host agent. And in case of log path, it specifies the path to the log directory of the SAP HANA system. Instance number, that's the instance number of SAP HANA system, and the instance number must be a 2-digit number between 00 and 97. Then we have root user. It specifies the root user name. Next we have SAP MNT, that is, it specifies the path to the SAP mount directory, which can be used as a shared directory between multiple hosts. Then we have shell. It specifies a system administrator login shell. This is relevant only if the operating system administrator, that is the SID ADM, does not exist prior to installation. Then we have Studio path. It specifies the installation for the SAP HANA Studio. Studio repository. It enables the copying of SAP HANA Studio repository. If it's enabled, the SAP HANA Studio repository is copied to the location defined by copy repository from the location defined by the repository. Then we have system usage. We specify about the system usage over here. We have time zone. It specifies the time zone for system administrator. Again, all these parameters are only relevant when system administrator does not exist prior to installation. Next is user ID. It specifies the user ID of the system administrator. It's again the similar thing, that if the operating system administrator, that is SID ADM, that's the name. First is SID, that is the system ID, and then is the ADM, these three alphabets. If it does not exist prior to installation, then these parameters are used. otherwise these are left as default. And next is the last one, it specifies the path of the Java runtime file VM. So this parameter is only relevant if the SAP HANA Studio is selected for installation or update. So the default value for this parameter is the Java runtime that is found in the environment variable path, right, or the Java runtime specified with the environment variable java underscore home. So it directly takes the default value from there. So this was all about the installation parameters. Now we'll be seeing the different steps involved using these parameters. Whatever parameters I have shown you here, these all parameters are used during the installation steps. We'll have to enter these parameters during the installation, and now we'll be covering that. So first thing is you have to change to the this directory on the installation medium, right, hdb lcm linux x86 underscore 64. So first you get into there, and then you have to start the installer, that is hdb lcm GUI. We are doing the installation using graphical user interface. We are not talking about right now about hdb lcm, that is only the command line. We are using the hdb lcm GUI, that is the graphical user interface. So the first thing is you have to, when you start it, you have to select the software component locations. So it shows the detected software component locations. You can add the component location, so everything you put in the directory, it goes there. After that you have to select the activity, that whether it's the update or the install new system. In case of select activity, in this when you press next over here, it goes over here, and there you can choose whether it's a new installation or you are just updating an old installation. Then after that you have to select the components, that is you have the option of selecting additional components like studio, db client, and then lcm, afl. So these are, afl is the application function library for predictive analysis. So these are the, you can see over here, these are the different components. So you can just select any of these components which you want to install. After you have selected the components to be installed, then you have to configure the installation. So in that case you have to first choose the system type, that whether it's a single host system or it's a distributed system. So after you have selected the components, just choose the type, just keep on pressing next, 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 and it automatically gets you through all these steps. So after you have selected the single or the multiple host system, in our case we are selecting the single host system, then you have to define the system properties. So in that case we are given the option for installation path, system ID, and the instance number. So the installation path here, in this case LCM detects the presence of this path, whatever is specified over here. In this case it's HANA shared path, and it proposes to use it. It automatically gives it. Next is the SAP HANA system ID. This is the mandatory one which I was talking about. SAP system ID and instance number, these two are the mandatory parameters. You have to specify the values over here. These are not given by default by the system. So here it's enter db1, and it has to be unique. This system ID has to be unique. It cannot be the term which is recognized by the HANA system, like it cannot be sys, it cannot be SAP, it cannot be SQL. It has to be your unique name for your HANA system. Then you have the option for putting in the instance number, which has to be between 00 and 97, and you have to choose the instance number for distributed system instance, so that it will be same for all the hosts. So either it's single host system or multiple host system, you have to choose the instance number over here. So once you are done with entering the system properties, in that is installation path, system ID and instance number, you have to define the storage properties. In that case, you have to specify about the location of log and data volumes. So LSM may detect the presence of these directories itself, that these are the places where it will save the data volumes and the log volumes, and it just proposes to use it. After that, you just click on next. You don't need to provide any other location, it just picks up itself. Then we have to define the system administrator details. Here you specify the properties of an operating system user ADM, and it owns all the binaries. You can see over here it's db1 ADM over here. That means that because db1 was given as the system ID, so the username would always be the system ID followed by ADM. That's the syntax for the username, right? So if your system name is ss1, so your username would be ss1 ADM. And then these are the parameters which you have to leave it to defaults, because these are relevant for the distributed installation, as it needs to be identical across hosts, this administrator user ID and the system administrator login shell, system administrator home directory, system administrator time zone. These all we have to specify. If the system administrator, that is in our case db1 ADM, is not specified during the installation, then only we have to specify these parameters. Otherwise, just leave it to default. All these parameters we have to leave it to default, right? Then we have to define the database user over here, and here in case of database user, you'll have to specify the password, and this password should be of 8 characters, 1 capital, 1 lowercase, 1 digit, and this is the user which owns all the objects, right? So this is the database user. Then we have to define the SAP host agent user and lifecycle manager properties. See, host names for SAP host agent self-signed certificates. This is relevant when using SSL and HANA Extended Application Services Server as the internal host name. Because the internal host name may not correspond to the name used publicly, so it will result in many invalid certificate warnings, so we can just use the default values here. Then we have to review and confirm. Here on the screen you can see that we have when you press OK, then you have the option of reviewing it. Here we can see the list of all the installation parameters, whatever we have specified in the whole procedure. You can see over here, this is the installation path, right? This is the system ID, instance number, location of data volume, location of log volume. These all parameter values are shown over here, even which you have not been prompted for. So because if you can see over here, we had not been prompted for internal network address, right? So all those parameters are also shown over here, which are not given option for to enter the value to. So you can just what you can see is, if you want to set these parameters, you can just run hdblcm from the command line with either the parameter or the configuration file. So we can install these manually after the installation. So once you are done with that, once you confirm and review it, all the components and all the parameters over here, then you click on install over here. And so first what will happen, SAP host agent will be installed, and then all the binaries for the database, and then the SAP HANA system will be created, then SAP HANA database system will be started, delivery units will be imported for HANA Access or SAP UE5, and then next AFL will be installed, and then HANA DB client, then Studio, and last is LCM. So all these components will be installed one by one, and then once all are installed, the installation is finished, and then you can view the logs using the view log button. So this is how we can install SAP HANA Server. You just need to two parameters are mandatory, that is SAP system ID and the instance number. Rest all you can just use the default values, and these administrator for SAP HANA is SID followed by ADM. You have to be particular about that. You have to just remember that's the system administrator, and it will always be the SID ADM. So you have to be sure about that as well. So this was all about SAP HANA server installation. So you have to follow these steps, and you're